Life Here and Hereafter. Part 2. Undeveloped Spirits. It is customary in this life to spend many of our earlier years acquiring an education in preparation for the years to follow. Most people, however, seem to proceed as though the eternal life beyond, if there is such a thing, will take care of itself. If any preparation is necessary, there is time enough to do it in the afterlife, they seem to argue, or else they believe that conformity to some creedal dogma is the essential requirement. There is time enough, of course, but we learn that dogma and doctrinal observances may hinder rather than help, and that very many have to go through the preparatory course after arriving on the other side. If this were all, the matter might not be quite so important. But we also learn that it is not necessary to waste these first years there in that matter, if certain things are done in the earth life and certain other things avoided. The education, if acquired in this life, is short and easy, and, moreover, is a great aid to a successful life here. It consists of following as nearly as is practicable the teachings and example of Christ, just the life that we as Christians are supposed to follow. But evidence from the life beyond indicates that many, very many, either through ignorance or through willfulness, have not been as successful in carrying out Christ's teachings as they might have been, and as they would try to be, I am sure, if all the consequences were more generally known. We have learned that this education, when left for the afterlife, is too often complicated by the results of unkind deeds and thoughts in this life, and also by having to unlearn many things that have been wrongly learned or understood while here. This last is a handicap little thought of by those who have not investigated. It is frequently a serious one. It has been brought to our notice very strongly in various ways. The following is one instance.
I am not trying for marvels or wonders, but I do want to try to give a plain, simple statement of the life here, that may lead some anxious fearing soul into more faith and happiness. I wish I could save them from looking forward with fear into the dark unknown. Will you try to take what you can, and I will try and write what I can, of comforting thought to all those who are really trying to live the right life on earth, and desiring a new inspiration for the future. Many come into this life in such ignorance that they sink immediately into a long, long sleep. And they may lose years, sometimes many precious years, before coming into spirit consciousness. Tell all who come in the circle of your influence that they are making their future now, and can almost control this future condition, if they will only seek the truth and abide by it while still on earth. I do not often preach, but I feel like a sermon tonight. For the souls that come to this side come in such multitudes that they can scarcely be counted, yet only here and there are the spiritually developed ones, the ones who can enter into this life with joy, and commence the development of spiritual power at once. The pity of it gets hold of us here now and then, and we feel like trying to bombard the earth with spirit bombs, something to make people think, something to force them away from their material thoughts, pleasures and plans. We are obliged to begin our work with them as we would begin with children. And not even in that way when they first come. They sink into a state that is hard to be described. They are not even ready to think. Brain and sense and heart and soul have so long been educated wrongly that silence and unconsciousness are the only remedies at first. Then there comes a confused awakening, with all their human habits of thought and all their evil selfishness predominant. What can be done then except to put strong forces in control, that they at least may be kept from influencing others? You cannot conceive of this work, I am sure, but it is very real here.
But you do not do this, you with all your dainty, fairy children to teach?
No, but I watch others in the patient, self-controlled effort, and I realize how strong must be their faith and hope to continue in the work. They do succeed at last, but it is often a long and weary way. And but for the strong, bright, and enduring faith of such workers and teachers, it would be almost unendurable.
Such spirits are kept separate, are they not?
Yes, surely. Each goes to his own place, as the Bible says. But we can watch the work of transformation and we can give to the workers our own best thoughts and encouragement. That is our part of it.
We said we had thought of this phase there and had spoken of it.
It exists, and is one of the great opportunities for work for the great and blessed spirits who undertake it. I have preached a sermon this time, but it may be well for you to know of the darker shadows over here. But we are also blessed with the sight of the brave spirits who are working with the depraved ones, and we are also blessed with the knowledge that their work is not in vain. Of course, all who come are not vicious, only unspiritual, living in the material thought. These are slow to come into the life of the spirit, but come far more rapidly than those whose evil natures have to be transformed. We were full of the subject, for we have been watching the work of some of our fine spirits with the low and debased ones of earth, and were filled with the pity of it. The unnecessary waste of lives there, and the unnecessary waste of time here in bringing them into spirit lives. Then too, all these brave teachers who give themselves to this work might be released for other and pleasanter work, if only the earth people knew the truth.
It is difficult for the earth people to learn the truth. This phase of it has not been very prominent in most messages from the other side. Moreover, it is difficult to comprehend the full force of the truth when it does come to us. Notwithstanding our surprise on learning of the slow progress that many make after leaving this life, even then we did not grasp its full meaning. And we are still startled at times as some new phase of undevelopment is brought to our attention. At a much later date the following was also written on this subject.
We wish to tell you of our work among the circles of the undeveloped spirits. There are so many who have to be cared for, that it becomes a very great work. And as time passes, this has become very much systematized. Vast numbers are cared for, and when they begin to understand where they are classified according to their temperament and ability, and put in the care of teachers who are best fitted for them. It is a wonderful sight to see the patience and judgment of these teachers. There is no lack of them, for they are recruited from the ranks of those whom they start on the upward path. So many are grateful for the help given them, that they in turn devote long periods of their life on this plane in aiding the unfortunates whose needs they know so well. When a spirit first arrives, it is cared for much as patients are entered in a hospital. They are helpless, and often remain so for long periods. In this condition they are little care. When sensation and consciousness begin to show, they need attention. Many cannot be reached at all by their guides, as you know by those who have been brought to you. Sometimes they can be led from place to place, but that is all. Sometimes they need to be surrounded by guards to prevent them from running hither and thither without reason. When they can be made to realize that they still live and are in the spirit world, they can be easily managed. But the progress of each is according to the ability to receive and understand the teachings given them. We think we can truthfully say that 1/4 of those who come to this side are made to understand the needs of spirit life in a reasonable time. But the remaining 3/4 are our problem and care. We do not mean that all of this large number are unable to advance, but that they are slow, and sometimes very slow. We have many whom we seem unable to help at all. We do not know that it is impossible for them to advance, but we do know that many of them have made no advancement since we came. And we are told that some of them have been in this condition for centuries. It is pitiful. It seems to us unnecessary. It does not seem to be so much because of difference in ability, as from a state of mind brought about by forming wrong opinions and ideas when in earth life. And the position they occupied in that life seems not to have much to do with it. This makes us think that it is unnecessary, and we wish some way could be found that would make the world understand what is needed. With all our writing, we wonder if we have conveyed a true impression of how important this work is with us. There are so many that great numbers of our most valued friends and neighbors here are required to devote nearly all their time caring for and teaching them. We wish the truth of spirit communication could be accepted more generally there. Then we could the more convincingly tell of what our life consists, and of what is necessary there to enable the spirit to at once enter into the joys of this existence. We feel that at present it is placing an unnecessary burden on us here, and holding back the advancement, in a way, of multitudes of our finest souls.
A specific instance of the slow progress that can occur is given below, and it is a pleasure to think that we probably assisted a little in his enlightenment. In the succeeding pages are further instances showing conditions so astounding that they will seem almost unbelievable to one newly introduced to the subject. This first instance concerns a friend of Sissa's, one whom she knew very well in earlier days. I will call him Frank Chase. He was a man of high ideals concerning this life, but very positive in his beliefs. He held in ridicule all ideas of communication with the unseen world, if indeed he held a belief that there was such a world. His interest was most keen in the mechanics and scientific discoveries of the day. He passed over in early manhood. Sis had inquired about him several times, but received little information beyond the statement that he had not advanced very far, which she thought very surprising. Finally, when writing, we were asked quite unexpectedly.
Will you send a message to Frank Chase? If you did, he might like to come to this circle. If we can interest him in this work, it will be well for him. He seems to question everything, and doubts even the spiritual life. He knows, of course, that he has passed away from Earth, but is busy explaining that and many other things with a philosophy of his own. He has a bright brain, and we wish to turn it to the truth and lead him into the right thought here. That is why I ask you to send him a message. He does not know you are communicating. We believe that if he can find himself, that is, realize that he is a spirit and living a spirit life already, that he will begin to study and grow.
The next day the pencil wrote.
After talking with you yesterday, I turned, and with the quickness of thought, was far away. So far that it would have taken you days to accomplish the journey. We went to see the one to whom we wish you to speak, and we have brought him to our circle to talk to you. He does not believe it can be done. Can you convince him? Will you speak to him?
Sis said.
Well, Frank Chase, are you really here to talk to me again after all these years?
Mary said.
He does not believe it is you. Call to his mind something he used to know.
Sis complied by asking.
Do you remember going to New York to see a young lady?
Will you tell him how she looked?
Sis gave a short description of the young lady, and Mary said.
Will you keep on? He is impressed.
Sis asked if he remembered this young lady coming to where he lived.
Keep right on. He is interested.
After further talk we were told.
He knows now it is you, and is overjoyed to know it is possible to talk with and hear from Earth, which he has never done before.
After some further conversation, Mary said.
He is so surprised that he can hardly credit it at all. Yet he knows that only you could tell him some of these things. We will bring him again soon. It is a good beginning. He is startled, and can hardly believe. But will probably wish to investigate, as that is his turn of mind, and that is what we wish.
We asked if they could explain how he had been getting along all these years without learning more.
Try to think of yourself in a dream, a long dream, and everything happening in ways that are strange, yet you do not wonder about it. Your dream accepts the things as true. That is as near as I can ascribe his situation. When he first came, he was met by his father and sister, but they failed to reach his reasoning mind, and he has wandered on in this condition through all these years.
At another time he came of his own accord to Mary, wishing to talk. After a short conversation Sis asked if in all that time he had been there he had heard of the many wonderful inventions that had appeared here in the meantime. He had not, and wished to know about them. First was the telegraph. Yes, he remembered that. But the telephone was new, and the wireless and the automobile. Then we went on to tell of the Great War, the immense ships that carried our soldiers, and the terrible guns. He had heard a little of the war, but did not believe it possible to do such things.
What are the good things of earth?
He asked. This came near being a poser, but Sis spoke of the Red Cross work, the hospitals, the aid to the starving, etc. Mary said.
He thinks the world must be in a terrible condition with so much science producing evil things. Tell him of the great vessel that was sunk by the Germans. Tell him about the ship that was sunk by an iceberg.
We talked some time, and after some remark of Sis's, he said.
What am I going to hear from you next? No one else could have told me the things you have. I did not know it could be done.
Mary added.
He is dazed with the thought, but he will take it to think over as he did last time. You are certainly getting hold of him, and we must keep it up.
This is startling, Mary. How can such things be?
Will you believe that each one makes his own life? Each one has the chance and must develop accordingly. Frank Chase's condition was caused by too much doubt, too much unbelief in a spirit life. He would not believe he was in a heavenly sphere and would not believe that he needed help, but argued himself into a strange and persistent unbelief until the desire for anything different almost disappeared.
The next time he came Mary wrote for him as follows.
I am here. Your teacher will write for me. I have been so unbelieving that I could get nothing, of course, and so I had no proof of the connection between the two worlds. But what you have said convinced me, and I am studying now so that I too can get in touch with mortal lives.
Mary added.
There have been years, he says, when he believed he was on some plane above the earth, but he did not understand that this plane might be the beginning of heavenly life for him. It is hard to make you understand, and he says now it is hard for him to understand. And it seems to him more like a long, long dream than anything else he can compare it to. He is learning fast and is far happier than before and pursues his studies eagerly.
This was an amazing experience for us. We had read something of such things, but it was all so strange we had passed it by. But this brought the truth to our realization with much force. Many have been brought to us in later months, and we understand there are other circles also engaged in this work. It seems that these unfortunate spirits can frequently be helped from this side, even when the guardians there can make no impression whatever. Most of them eventually find their way out of the fog in some manner, although there has been a hint that it is possible to be almost indefinitely delayed. It is certain that many remain for years and years before they grasp the meaning of the spirit life. Such spirits have not necessarily led evil lives while here. More often this spiritual handicap is the result of too strong a belief in some superstition, some creed, or some philosophy on earth, a case of being certain that one way is right and all others wrong. Such beliefs and philosophies continue with them more or less strongly on the other side, just as superstitions sometimes cling to one here in spite of all the evidence there may be to show they are without foundation. That the attainment of a development complete enough to enable one to advance to higher planes may be delayed almost indefinitely is revealed by an incident which I will quote just as it appears on our records. In looking over our records there will be found a number of instances when Mary has said that Sis was surrounded by a cloud. Several times she has said she thought this cloud was the result of some other power trying to manifest through her pencil. In these cases very little has been written, and numerous times when Sis has been alone not a movement occurred. This was the case this afternoon. A little later, when I was present, only a few words came through. Late this afternoon, however, Sis tried to get passive when alone and her hand began to shake, showing that someone wished to write. Mary then wrote freely and gave an explanation of the perplexing troubles. Sis was trying to get in communication with Mary because of a letter I had received from a friend. It seems that this friend had been to a psychic who had given a message for Sis. This message was as follows. There is an ancient spirit way back in the times of Muhammad who says he has been trying to reach Miss D, and says he has something of importance to say to her, and begs you to give a message which he wants to send. He wants her to write as a heading on her paper, the seers and sages of the present day, and then wait in silence for his message. When Mary finally succeeded in writing, the following was received.
We are here, and you were led by us. Do not doubt. We could not give that other one the opportunity. He would have misguided you.
Was it the ancient spirit we were told to expect?
Yes, he is an ancient force or teacher, but is not the kind we trust. He has not learned the real truth in all the ages he has lived. He would teach you of occult mysteries as they existed in the olden time. We do not wish the unseen to be represented by mysteries, rites, and observances. Remember that we belong to an age in which the teachings of Christ have purifying religious belief. And we in the unseen strive to make his teachings still powerful on earth. We do not know just what that other message would have been, but we do know that you, as well as we, wish for the truth as Christ gave it to the world. Are you satisfied?
Yes, that is what we wish.
We try to guard you always from such influences, and it is because we do this that at times you do not even get us. We cannot come through an influence so strong that it takes all our force to neutralize it. You trust us, and that is well. Keep with us as long as we teach the truth that Christ taught on earth. Humility, unselfishness, the love of humanity, and the striving to make the world better.
Sis inquired of the reliability of any of the ancient sages or rulers who wrote through others.
We do not know any of the ancient kings or princes. We cannot describe or even see them. But this teacher who wished to control your pencil has been here before, and we have checked his influence. And as he said, he could not get a message to you. Are you sorry?
No. We wish your guidance and protection.
You are safe while you keep that attitude. The world is likely to go astray if led by those who teach strange rites and occult practices of long ago. Christ, and the truth as made known by Christ, are what we wish to bring to the world. You are safe in such truth and such teaching.
Was it because you were trying to prevent other powers from sending messages that I so many times have been unable to write?
Yes, we often have all our power taken in simply neutralizing other influences. Remember that only mind or spirit force can be used, and if used in preventing other influences, it cannot at the same time be used in giving out messages.
Why did you not tell me what the trouble was at the time?
We do not like to admit the power at the time. Be satisfied. We are protecting you always. Goodbye now.
Soon after this I came in, and after hearing what had been written, I said, "Well, Mary, we are very grateful to you for guarding the writing."
You may well be, for it means your protection and your determination to receive only the truth.
Then to Sis.
Do you see why we wish you to be our medium, even if you have less psychic power than some others?
I said it was astonishing how many were slow in developing, and how long they were in seeing the truth.
Can you see how very long people or spirits may be fascinated with their own beliefs? They are so unwilling to be convinced. No wonder that Christ taught the people that they must become as little children. We can tell you that many times we have neutralized powerful forces that were untruthful and malicious. We are constantly on guard lest some unworthy power succeeds in getting a message to you. We believe you would recognize it usually, but some spirits are subtle and give sophistries in language that would conceal the malicious influence.
Mary, just why has nothing been said of this before? Were you afraid we would not understand?
Mary does not like to speak of the evil here ordinarily. It unsettles some earthly minds in their previous beliefs of a heavenly perfection, and we prefer to use constructive rather than destructive influence.